When the heart stops, the brain is still working for a few short minutes. And during these few minutes, many strange things happen. And they happen specifically in the conscious part of the brain. So even if a person is on his deathbed, he may feel or see these things. The first thing to talk about is the memory part. We know that there are people who died and came back to life, and we often hear from them that they saw scenes from their previous lives pass before their eyes. After the heart stops, during the first 10 to 30 seconds, the brain has little oxygen and glucose, the sugar that is the brain's main source of energy. The brain uses what remains of this energy in a group of operations that we will talk about later. In the brain, we have an area called the hippocampus, which is responsible for memory and remembering events. It also works in conjunction with the visual cortex, which is responsible for processing visual images. A very strong synchronization occurs between these two regions, in which the energy of nerve waves rises to high levels, gamma waves. In those moments, the brain reaches a heightened state of consciousness, and these activities occur very quickly and suddenly. Usually, the patient's brain waves before death are slow and simple, but at the moment of death they rise sharply, sometimes for several minutes, which indicates that the person is going through a certain sensory or cognitive experience. The second thing that happens at death is the secretion of huge amounts of happiness, hormones that fill the entire brain, in quantities greater than what it produces when using narcotics or stimulants. One of these hormones is serotonin, which is responsible for regulating sleep, learning, memory, and other functions. But what is most important here is that serotonin receptors in the brain, when activated in large quantities, can cause hallucinations. Therefore, when death approaches, these receptors become strongly activated, leading to a type of hallucination accompanied by a feeling of happiness or serenity. There is also dopamine, which is known as the happiness or reward hormone, as it gives a person a feeling of pleasure and satisfaction and makes life worth living. At the moment of death, dopamine is released in large quantities into the brain. The brain also secretes a substance called endorphins, which are complex proteins that act as a natural painkiller and are similar in effect to morphine, which is used in medical anesthesia. This substance is produced naturally in the body and is released in large quantities upon death, causing sedation and a feeling of relief. So we can say that a person in the moments of death may experience a state of hallucinations mixed with happiness and tranquility as a result of the interaction of these chemicals within the brain. As for sight, what the eye sees depends on the light receptors present in the retina, which are of two types: rods, which are responsible for vision in dim light. Cones are responsible for distinguishing colors and strong lighting. Many people who died and came back to life remember that they saw a tunnel with a bright light at the end. From a scientific standpoint, this phenomenon is explained as a personal experience resulting from changes in brain activity during moments dying. In the brain, there are points called synapses, which are the places where nerves communicate with other nerve cells. These points require very large amounts of oxygen and energy, ATP, derived from glucose. When oxygen is cut off, these points die quickly, as they are considered one of the fastest parts of the nervous system to die. When synapses die, only one batch of neurotransmitters, such as dopamine, is released, with the hormone of happiness. In a normal state, the brain performs a process called reuptake, which is cleaning or retrieving the neurotransmitter after releasing it to keep the brain's work balanced. But upon death, there is no oxygen or sufficient energy left, so this process stops completely, and the engagement points are released. The nervous one is just her last shot. As these points die, the neural network or electrical circuits in the brain begin to disintegrate, and the nervous system collapses, gradually. With this disintegration, memory, from childhood to happy and sad moments, begins to decompose, and all experiences and feelings that he passed by it a person during his life. At the same time, there is a massive release of a substance called glutamate, which is a neurotransmitter responsible for excitement and activity in the brain. Status natural. Glutamate is usually secreted in precise and regulated quantities, but when oxygen and energy are cut off, something similar to an explosion occurs in the ITS level is within the brain, causing unregulated electrical activity that leads to the death of nerve cells one by one. This is also linked to complex interactions involving calcium and other elements, which are precise details that require extensive explanation. But in general, it seems that the brain in those moments is trying to alleviate the harshness of the experience on the person, while he is going through the stage of nonis, return. After that, powerful electrical waves spread in the brain, known scientifically as a brain tsunami. These Waves pass through the brain tissue with more energy than usual, and every area that this wave passes through stops working. Absolutely. No, it is no longer capable of sending or receiving any electrical or chemical signals. In the last stage, the brain, and even the entire body, begins to produce a higher temperature than usual, as if it were the last energy boost before complete silence. After that, the nerve connections gradually increase and then stop completely, allowing complete silence to prevail. It is worth noting that all of these observations were recorded using precise medical equipment on people who passed away, life or they lived near-death experiences, as well as on experimental animals such as mice. As for the subjective experience that a person goes through in those moments, it is known to God Almighty, but scientific analysis shows that secretions, for example dopamine for happiness, serotonin for relaxation, and natural morphines have been monitored with precise devices during these stages.